as a child, I had 15 years living in a very angry, not loving home. I don't ever remember a time where my parents ever showed care or love for each other. I cannot recall a single moment in my lifetime growing up, and never happened. So you can imagine the damage that just that alone creates, a child that doesn't even know what actual love is. And so my aggressor, abuser was my father. He was very violent, and like all the spectrum of abuse, because there's different kinds of abuse, right? There's physical, sexual, emotional, mental, we had all of them. And it's funny on that as well, a lot of women that come to me downplay and think that they, haven't really gone through abuse or trauma per se because it wasn't violence and it wasn't sexual. But actually, I found statistics, and I talk about this in one of my videos online, like 70% of abuse is emotional abuse. And I found very recent statistics from 2017, Australian statistics, and this is what breaks my heart. And this is why I do this, because there are still a child every 15 minutes in Australia, a third world country, that gets abused. What the fuck? Sorry. But this is why we've got to do this, and we have to come together and be the change, because that's not okay. That's not okay. And we've all been through it, and we did not go through this shit for nothing. We've gone through this so that we can come together and heal and find ways and change the bloody system. The broken mental health and education system has to change. Okay. So 15 years of that with Dad. So the kind of abuse was those things, but he was very controlling. So I had a lot of control in the household, like down to what I had to wear, how I had my hair. I had curls when I was a little girl, and then through puberty it went straight, and then at like 15, 16 my hair went curly again. I came home so excited and like, look, my hair's curly again. And he yelled and screamed and slapped me over the face, like, because he thought I had gone and got a perm, and that wasn't okay because I didn't get permission. Like, 13-year-old girl. So, that's just one instance. There's loads of horrible ones. That's just, the whole control thing. So went through 15 years of my life being controlled. So you can imagine how that manifests later in life. Perfectionism, one of the things that manifested for me, and that's something that we'll talk about today as well. The different, the signs of unhealed trauma, I call them, and I've got a list, and we'll go through it and see, where you're at and which ones you get. And so then, so I have a brother. So it was myself, my mum, and my brother in this household with my dad. And we finally escaped when I was 15 years old. And some horrible stuff happened between my brother and my father. So my brother's 10 years older, so he was 25. He lived in this crap for 25 years. And we finally escaped when all this stuff happened with my brother, and that's really when everything started to happen. We had to take whatever we could that would fit in a taxi. Mum and I, Dad had a doctor's appointment, and we just took our stuff and we left and we ran away. And I wrote a post-it note that said, we're leaving because we're scared of what you would do to us. And I didn't realise at the time, but writing that created a whole other manifestation of things, because after we left him, I started to have the nightmares and the flashbacks. And they were nightmares of him finding us and standing over me with the gun ready to kill me. So it was pretty horrific, pretty scary, 15-year-old kind of nightmares. And I'm glad to say that's all gone. I no longer have those, and all that stuff is healed. And there is a way to do that a lot quicker than what traditional therapy makes out. So after that, it was a good 10 years of my life trying all the things to recover. I knew that this stuff had fucked me up, and I knew that I needed, and I was never going to give up. I don't know what it was within me, but I had this flame and I was just never going to give up, to find a way to not let this stuff fuck me up anymore, like throughout my life. And so I spent the next 10 years doing like what they tell you to do, like just forget about it, it's in the past, why can't you just get over it? Yeah, right. Those people have no idea. And then going to therapy, counsellors, psychologists, all that kind of stuff, talking about it some more, trying this one and then another one and then another one, and every single time having to talk about it again. And every single time I would talk about it and tell my story, I would break down in tears. And I was like, this isn't good, this isn't helping me. Like I shouldn't be breaking down every time. I want that to go away. And so now I can talk about my story, I can tell you all the horrific details and be completely untriggered, and it's amazing. And then I kind of gave up for a little bit of time in terms of doing stuff and therapies and what, so I threw myself into my career and I became that busy bee, high-flying, strong corporate woman that, I don't need no man and I'm going to make all the money and I'm going to do everything myself so that I never have to rely on a man ever again, because I had the father wound, right? And so with trauma, we can go one way or the other, right? The patterns can repeat. And some of my patterns did repeat, but I also was very strong in I am going the complete opposite direction to whatever you were and whatever you did. So I didn't end up in violent relationships afterwards, thank goodness, but a lot do because of the love state, which is something I won't cover today, but it's because of the love state that pattern can perpetuate. And so the way I coped was to keep busy, to I don't need no man, I'm going to make all the money and provide for myself. A few people resonating with that, and just throwing myself into work. So I've grown up in Melbourne, so I corporate career, and was working 12 to 15 hour days. That didn't turn out so well. Got to the burnout point, and I was having crazy emotional outbursts. I was having a lot of rage and anger. I was just angry at everything, and I didn't know why. And then I would just suddenly fall in a heap and cry. Tears, again, for no reason. And they weren't hormonal. It's okay to cry when we're hormonal. They were not hormonal. They were just like, what the hell is this? I don't understand what's going on. And then I met this lady, did some spiritual work with her, and she had been through the exact same thing as me. It was like, she told me her story. It was like listening to, me. And she had explained to me about the father wound and abuse trauma, and that one of the coping mechanisms is actually to keep busy. And I was like, what? Holy crap. Like, my whole life and my whole self-worth, I used to go around saying I'm a strong, ambitious career woman. That was my identity. That was who I was. And then I found out it was a coping mechanism for my trauma. So I fell in a heap on the floor in the fetal position, like crying, like, oh my God, what the hell do I do now? Where to from here? And so I cried and cried and cried, and then eventually I picked myself up. And that's really when my journey of healing started, when I had that realization that, shit, this is a coping mechanism. And so we all have different coping mechanisms. That was mine, and we'll go through that today, and you'll get some understanding of what yours are, and then the journey begins of transforming and healing. And so there's another, 10 years of different things that I did after that, and I found different tools and modalities that were hugely transformational and really, really, really fast. So the ones for me that I love and that I've specifically trained in is NLP and hypnotherapy, so you'll get a taste of that today, along with all sorts of other things. So yeah, anyone resonate with